Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. We have a great show for you today. First, the Kentucky sheriff who went into the judge's chamber and shot the judge, he appeared in court, and he says not guilty. Everyone agrees Barry Morphew got screwed, but he gets nothing. Arrests have been made and gang affiliations confirmed in Aurora, Colorado. Maybe you can answer this question. Are these incriminating web searches or just a bunch of crazy coincidences? We have this day in legal history and our dumb criminal of the day. And I have a video trailer, so to speak, of a video that shows how very dangerous it is to be a police officer in today's world. Let's talk about it.
Hi, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do. Leave me a comment below, hit that little bell for notifications, and remember you can check us out anytime on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Now, before we get to today's docket, let me pay some bills. First, go to crimetalksearch.com, all right? And when you do, you can sign up for a background subscription service. And as I said on our live last night, I'm going to prove how it works, all right? Our dumb criminal of the day, we did a background search on him today. And let me tell you, the report here, it gives you a summary. Let me read what it gives you. A summary of everything that's in the report, contact information, possible address history, possible relatives, possible neighbors, possible associates, possible jobs, education, usernames, possible social medias associated with that person, photographs, assets owned, criminal and traffic records, bankruptcies, judgments and liens, and licenses and permits, all literally while you wait. And guess what? You can do as many of these searches as you want when you have that background subscription service. And here's the beautiful thing. You can do one and cancel, or you can keep it and do as many as you want. But go to crimetalksearch.com. You'll be happy you did. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. First on the docket, that Kentucky sheriff of a small county who is accused of walking into a judge's chamber and fatally shooting him has pled not guilty to murder. And the Lechner County Sheriff, Sean Mickey Steins, is being held in another Kentucky county, but was arraigned by video before a special judge who was standing in for the judge who would be doing this job, but he was gunned down by the sheriff last week. Now, he appeared in a jail uniform, probably one that he, picked out since he's a sheriff, although it's in a different jurisdiction. You know what I'm saying. And he showed no emotion while appearing on the video for his brief appearance. He had two public defenders with him. And like I said, they entered a plea of not guilty on his behalf. The judge that did the hearing did it from his courtroom in northeastern Kentucky. And there was no discussion of bond during the hearing, and the judge indicated that the maximum penalty in this case is, well, it's a capital case, so a death penalty is a possible punishment. Don't think that's going to happen. Now, the preliminary investigation indicates that the sheriff shot the judge, Judge Mullins, multiple times on September 19th following an argument in the courthouse. Now, according to the police, Mullins, who held the judgeship since 2009, died at the scenes, and Stein, the sheriff, surrendered just a few minutes later without an incident. He's been charged with one count of first-degree murder. The police are not offering any details about a possible motive, and we've talked about some of them. There's been some reports that maybe there was something inappropriate, but we need to be absolutely certain before we definitely go there. But it would seem like the sheriff was kind of there as a man on the mission, small town, everybody knows everybody. And apparently there was something about some inappropriate conduct with the with the sheriff's daughter and the judge. I don't know. I guess it's just like that John Grisham novel years ago, A Time to Kill. Obviously, a little different set of circumstances, but be curious to see if that turns out to be true, if the sheriff maybe will get a free pass, so to speak. I don't know. I think this is going to be a good one. The Kentucky Attorney General's office is also working with on the case as a special prosecutor. We'll see how this case goes. I think it's going to move rather quickly. Not very complicated, not a whodunit. The only question is, was it justified legally? Maybe not so much unless the judge was armed, which I don't think he was. Then it comes down to, was he morally justified if there was some greater good that he was trying to accomplish? But as a judge, can you really be a vigilante? Probably not. Ooh. But, everybody in the town maybe knows the sheriff. Maybe he doesn't want to change a venue. And who knows? Maybe he'll get a pass. Gonna be interesting. We'll have to see what the investigation reveals. Next on the docket, just about everybody so far believes that Barry Morphew has gotten screwed. Well, now he gets nothing. That's right, nothing.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
A judge dismissed a federal lawsuit filed by Barry Morphew, which asked for $15 million in damages related to what he called a reckless investigation and a malicious prosecution in connection with the death and murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew. Now, Barry Morphew filed a civil rights lawsuit last May against the Chaffee County prosecutors, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation employees, and FBI employees a year after charges were dropped against Mr. Morphew. Now, in his ruling late Tuesday evening, United States District Court Judge Daniel Domenico, who I've been in front of several times, I was in front of him just a couple of weeks, I'm be in front of him again real soon, real smart guy, good judge, okay? And he concluded that anyone accused of a crime deserves better than what happened in Barry Morphew's case. So just about everybody agrees that Barry Morphew got screwed. He also suggested that Barry Morphew may be right, that the immunity doctrine should be revisited, and said it should be easier to sue for mishandled prosecutions. However, the judge said he had to apply the law as it is currently written and not the way he thinks it should be, right? That's what judges do. And sometimes you have to make tough decisions as a judge by saying, I agree with you, plaintiff, in this particular case. You got screwed, but I can't change the law. You have to go to Congress, the legislature, to change the law. And so therefore, like the judge noted, he has to apply the law as it is currently written, and therefore he had to dismiss the claim made by Barry Morphew. Now, Mr. Morphew's attorneys made a statement, and they say that this legal battle is far from over. And that's from his attorney, Iris Itan. And she noted, as Judge Domenico ruled, it appears everyone involved now agrees that Barry Morphew should not have been arrested, at least not at the time, and agrees that the uncertainties raised by some of the evidence would have made it very difficult for the prosecution to secure a conviction at trial beyond a reasonable doubt. And prosecutors generally understand they have an ethical obligation not to bring charges that they cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt. End quote. All very accurate. That is the ethical obligation of a prosecutor. If you can't prove your case, you ethically have to dismiss it. Ms. Itan goes on and says, we maintain that there was no fair probability that Barry was involved in Suzanne's murder, and the defendant was maliciously prosecuted, and as stated, there should be serious consequences for undermining the criminal justice system. Now, you may recall Morphew was arrested for murder on charges related to his wife back in May of 2021 in connection with the May of 2020 disappearance of his wife, Suzanne Morphew, on Mother's Day. Those charges were dismissed in April of 2022 when a judge granted a motion filed by the prosecution to dismiss the case because they knew it was going to be dismissed by the judge. Their case was going to be gutted for failure to timely file various endorsements in the case related to expert witnesses, as well as discovery violations. So when the case was dismissed, Suzanne Morphew continued to remain missing. That's right, they didn't even have a body in this particular case. Now, her remains were found in Saguchi County last September, almost a year ago now. Now, Barry Morphew claimed in the lawsuit that the defendants engaged in actions including malicious prosecution, an unlawful detention, fabrication of evidence, conspiracy, unlawful retention of property, reckless investigation, and failure to supervise and train. As a result of the defendant's conduct, Barry Morphew was charged, arrested, and prosecuted, and the property seized for a crime he did not commit, the lawsuit alleges. And Barry Morphew spent 5 months in custody, approximately 6 months more wearing a GPS ankle monitor with severe restrictions on the movement, and almost a year defending against the criminal charges. To date, his property is still in the custody and possession of the sheriff. And they also alleged in the lawsuit that his name and reputation had been irreparably tarnished, not only in Colorado but around the country, and that he also suffered loss of familial association with his 2 daughters, great economic losses, including the loss of his home, business, savings, and much more. So the only consolation prize that Barry Morphew has received in this particular case is the ethics opinion where Linda Stanley, the lead prosecutor in the case, was disbarred. Now, of all the people that mishandled this particular case, only Linda Stanley has been held accountable, right? And this is the thing. This is why, and I was very, very delicate. In fact, I even talked to one of Morphew's attorneys at one point because they watched the show because we covered it. And they said that I was actually fair to both sides. I said there was a problem. I praised them that they had very competent attorneys, and I was right. They did a great job for him. And the only person that we know that's been fired from this whole thing, Linda Stanley, disbarred. Look at this, 83-page opinion. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I know some people think he did it. Not enough evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why you have to give people the presumption of innocence. Next, violent gangs from Venezuela. Their arrests have been made and gang affiliations confirmed. That's right. Police in Aurora, Colorado, not far from here. We are in Adams County, Colorado. Then you got Denver. And then as you head east, you get to Aurora, Colorado. Police in Aurora, Colorado have charged 3 suspects from the viral video that showed heavily armed men breaking into an apartment and a clip that made the Denver suburb a household name and associated with migrant crime. Now, one of the men has now admitted that he is a member of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, and federal law enforcement sources have stated that despite the local police saying none of the men were, in fact, connected to the gangs, they are. Now, Nefred Serpa Acosta apparently admitted during an interview with the immigration authorities after he was asked if he had any gang affiliation by immigration officers that he was Tren de Aragua because he had the signature crown tattoo to prove it. That's right, a little tattoo on his neck. Now, I have received from very reliable sources that Aragua is a state in the country of Venezuela, and that these are really bad guys. You don't want them as neighbors, and you certainly don't want them as a gang. All right, we'll leave it as that. So apparently all 3 of the men arrested have rather lengthy rap sheets, even though they've only been in the state for a very short amount of time. Now, these 3 have been seen wielding guns in this surveillance video taken in late August at the Colorado apartment complex that was overrun, allegedly, by a violent Venezuelan prison gang as they broke into the unit. Now, then 10 minutes later, they were allegedly involved in a shooting that left 1 person dead. The 2 other suspects are Anderson Zambrano Pacheco and Nadi Lopez Fernandez, both of whom crossed the border illegally last year and were quickly released into the United States, according to ICE. The pair also had multiple arrests in Colorado, but no evidence confirmed that they were a member of the gang as of yet. So sources said Acosta has been arrested at least 3 times in Colorado in the last 2 years. He was first arrested in June of 2023 for theft, then in April of 2024 for theft, and then again in May for theft, as well as resisting arrest and obstruction of a police officer. It's unclear why he was released each time. Well, I can tell you why, because those are basically minor offenses, just like they are now in parts of California, and nobody cares. You're given a summons and told to go to court. Back in the day, you'd be arrested. Things have changed, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, what do I keep saying? Oh, that's right. You get more of what you tolerate. Anyway, Acosta initially entered the United States by crossing the border into El Paso, Texas, illegally in December of 2022, then volunteered to leave and return back to Mexico, according to immigration sources. And it's not clear when he re-entered in the United States. Well, no. Would that mean that he would be referred to as a gotaway? if the United States government doesn't know when he crossed the border? Yes, I think he would. That is what they call that. Anyway, Mr. Acosta is currently in ICE custody and is set to appear before an immigration judge this coming week. Now, 3 other people seen in the video have yet to be identified and are believed to be at large. Now, as you may recall, the Aurora police chief, Todd Chamberlain, recently told reporters that police haven't found any ties whatsoever, any gangs among the suspects, but emphasized that it's really difficult to figure that out because it's not like we can pick up the phone and ask somebody in Venezuela if they're a member of the Tren de Aragua gang and find out who is and who isn't, unless, of course, they self-admit. But many of these individuals were talking about coming from a country which does not have a strong relationship with the United States. And they come here, and like I said, they don't have that database that they can just pick up the phone and call. Now, many migrants from Venezuela have poured into the city of Aurora, right next door, and the gang members have apparently come with them. Last month, the city launched a task force to study and combat the violent gang, and the former ICE director in Denver has stated that the sanctuary laws limit local law enforcement communications with ICE in Colorado, and those are to blame. So that's rather interesting, ladies and gentlemen. And don't get me wrong. I mean, who wouldn't want to come to the United States of America? Best country in the world, most freedom. I get it. You need to do it legally, and when you get here, you need to not break the law. I know when I've traveled abroad, I go to great extremes to make sure I'm not violating the law in the country in which I am traveling. That would be disrespectful, and I don't want to spend time in a foreign prison. Let's face it, right? So you got to do it legally, and then you got to follow the rules. I think they call that assimilation. But the reality of it is, if these people are committing crime, we'll give them the presumption of innocence, but don't commit crime. That's the general rule of thumb, ladies and gentlemen, because there's lots of good people that come to the United States every day, every year. And like I said, who wouldn't? Greatest country in the world. Think I'm wrong? Go ask some of the people that want to come here. They'll tell you, we've got our flaws, but it's a pretty good place to hang out. Next, incriminating online searches or just a weird coincidence. So Crystal Rash was reported missing on June 23rd, and investigators say her cell phone last pinged in Adams County, Wisconsin, which is coincidentally where her soon-to-be ex-husband owns some property. Now, Zachariah Rash's 2023 Mitsubishi Eclipse was found in the area. Investigators said it had significant evidentiary value to the police. They also added that they found a tooth on his property, which was to be that of Crystal. Okay, things are starting to get a little clearer here. And then on June 11th, the last day that Crystal was seen, her husband allegedly searched online for, will a 9mm firearm kill an animal if shot in the head? That's a normal question. The following day, he searched carpet cleaners. And then on June 24th, he searched for, is sulfuric acid dangerous? All reasonable searches. I've probably done them half a dozen times myself just this morning. No, I haven't. Anyway, surveillance footage from a Goodwill in a town where both of these individuals lived showed that Crystal and Zachariah Rash met together around 11 a.m. on June 11th. Now, the Rashes had a divorce hearing scheduled for August 8th, and Zachariah Rash had a domestic abuse restraining order filed against him back in September of 2023. The complaint against him also listed several cash withdrawals, and a detective also obtained video showing him making several purchases. Now, Rash initially denied taking any money from his wife's account or using her credit cards, but then admitted that he was lying when investigators showed him pictures from the surveillance video. When police questioned Mr. Rash regarding his vehicles, he initially denied even owning an Eclipse. And according to the criminal complaint, he later confessed to owning the Eclipse, but claimed he didn't know its current location. Anyway, the court records further allege that when the officers pointed out inconsistencies in his statements, he says, Mr. Rash then says, I don't know where she is. That's a normal response. When asked about purchasing large amounts of dry cleaner, Rash explained he was trying to eliminate chipmunks that had burrowed on his parents' property. Now, I'm no detective, but I'm curious if one of the detectives has gone and checked to see if you use drain cleaner to get those pesky chipmunks out of little burrows. I don't know. I'm sure they have. Anyway, police arrested Mr. Rash and charged him with first-degree intentional homicide and domestic abuse, enhancing, and hiding a corpse. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments, just mere coincidence or incriminating searches? I think incriminating statements. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, people have our Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Anything you say will be used against you. I mean, I'll be honest with you. For somebody to go talk to the police, if you are the target of an investigation and you confess, frankly, you deserve it. Okay? The police tell you you're in custody. I'm going to read from this card. I'm going to put it in this video advisement form saying, here are your constitutional rights. The United States Supreme Court completely made it up, but they did that to protect everyday citizens. It is the biggest hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge that the court could possibly give anybody that's saying, hey, think twice about talking to the police. So if you talk, I mean, you kind of get what you deserve because you were warned. I'll just leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. What do you have to say? Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer.
Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer.
This day in legal history, on September 25th, 1789, the United States Congress sent 12 proposed constitutional amendments to the state legislatures for ratification. 10 of those were adopted in 1791 and became known as the Bill of Rights. Remember the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights? Anyway, a proposed amendment on congressional representation was never ratified, and another on congressional pay was not ratified until 1992 when it became the 27th Amendment. Don't you just feel smarter by knowing the legal history of the day? All right, our dumb criminal of the day. Take a look at this. A Florida man, Kiva Swander Kirby, was arrested on Wednesday and charged with committing domestic battery by strangulation against his girlfriend. Easy enough. Well, the arrest report states that Mr. Swander Kirby stated he wanted an open conversation where he was free to discuss negative things. Well, the victim asked when Swander Kirby would return to her, and then they could continue the conversation. Swander told her that he was tired and wanted to go to sleep. Well, apparently things escalated to some sort of screaming match, and Mr. Kirby was naked. I'm not sure how he got there, but he was naked. Anyway, he apparently then defecated in the middle of the floor where this conversation was taking place. So this little conversation apparently escalated into a screaming match where somehow Mr. Swander Kirby got naked and then decided it would be a good idea to defecate in the middle of the floor. Is this like a Johnny Depp rerun? I don't get this. Like, who does this kind of stuff? Anyway, Swander Kirby then reportedly put his hand over the victim's mouth and plugged her nose to stop her from screaming, because she apparently screamed for help when he dropped a deuce in the middle of the floor. Now, it's unclear, like I said, how Mr. Swander Kirby was naked from the start of the incident or took his clothes off during the argument. Unclear, but apparently it's undisputed, like I said, that he defecated during the argument. That's one way to get everybody's attention. Focus on me. Ugh. That's right. Anyway, the deputy that showed up investigating the case gave a very vague version of the events, but did admit to defecating on the floor. Anyway, Mr. Swander Kirby refused to answer any further questions, and he was arrested for domestic abuse and is sitting in custody on a $40,000 bond, probably for dropping hazardous materials as well. All right. Normally, this would be the end of the show today, but take a look at this video. This is a video of a stop where a New Mexico police officer was trying to help out what appeared to be a stranded motorist, and it turned very poorly. Now, I'm not going to lie, it's a little graphic at points, but they've kind of scrubbed it out. However, it's still worth noting. One, how dangerous the police officers are. Two, when the officers find their fellow police officer, they refer to him as brother in case they keep fighting, brother. And third, when they ultimately catch the suspect the following day. It's worth watching. Appreciate everybody, the law enforcement. Obviously, sometimes there's good cops, there's bad cops, and the good cops need to get rid of the bad cops on their own until they do something bad. But this was a good cop. This was a good cop. So I think it's worth watching. Anyway, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. And remember, the Constitution matters.